Before I start, I want to apologize for how basic this video is going to be. The reason being, the last few movies that I did that were released by Paramount got copyright claimed by them, and they refused the appeal even though what I was doing was absolutely covered under fair use. In my review for Star Trek Beyond, I had nothing but the posters that were released for the movie, and they claimed that. So as an attempt to see just how far they're going to go, I'm going to use one poster that they released for the movie. If they claim this, then this is beyond ridiculous. Alright, anyway, into the movie itself. The original XXX came out in 2002, and at the time it was right at the beginning of when Vin Diesel's career was really exploding. Vin Diesel didn't want to come back for the second one because the first one did well, but it wasn't like a huge hit, so they made a very odd choice and brought in Ice Cube for the second one, and I thought that XXX State of the Union was trying too hard to make the subject matter serious. Whereas the first one, it kind of had a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, and you could obviously see that they were trying to do a goofy spin on James Bond. With 2, I thought that they were just trying to make it more serious than the subject matter was allowing it to be. And I wasn't buying Ice Cube as the main protagonist. Personally, I think he works better in movies like Friday. I was genuinely surprised when they announced that they were doing a third XXX, and it's the Return of Xander Cage. I got excited, I'll admit, because I genuinely enjoy Vin Diesel. I like the guy a lot. Is he the best actor in the world? No, but there's always just been something charming about the guy. I really like him, and I don't know what to say. So I was excited that they were returning to this. I would rather there have been a fourth Riddick movie, but I'll take a third XXX. The way that they explained the Return of Xander Cage was that in XXX 2, he faked his death, and he's been hiding out all over the world, and Samuel L. Jackson has been looking for him. He knew he wasn't really dead, but he couldn't ever find him. The movie starts off with Samuel Jackson recruiting new people to be part of the XXX program, which really sounds like porn. It's uncovered that there's this thing called Pandora'S Box, and it's this super duper tiny laptop computer that can hack into any computer in the world, and bad people are using it to drop satellites out of the sky and kill people. A crack team of agents finally figure out where Xander Cage has been hiding, and they give him this info, and he manages to reboot back into the XXX program that he started with Samuel Jackson, and goes out and is going to use a bunch of gadgets and whatnot to save the world. What I liked about the movie was that it was absolutely, positively ridiculous, and it knew it. Actually, it reveled in its ridiculousness. And initially it was kind of off-putting because in the beginning, he's skiing down the side of a mountain. Now, if you've seen the trailer, it's a mountain without snow, so he's skiing down rocks and off trees, and then he skateboards down the rest of the mountain. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, how far are they going to go with this? And I think to the movie's strength was that they didn't stray from that. They never attempted to be too serious. And that's the problem I had with the first one. They kept trying to skirt the line between silly and serious. And this, they just went right over into silly. He's, as I said, skiing off trees and down the side of a mountain. And then he's surfing a motorcycle inside of a giant wave. And just so many ludicrous set pieces and action sequences that just ignore any kind of semblance of reality. And I think that worked. After I saw the movie, I wrote on Twitter that XXX 3 was quite possibly written by me when I was 14. And what I mean by that was that it really did feel like it was something that was written by a completely amped up teenager. Everything that's in the movie is just everything that you think is cool when you're at that age. So it's like XXX was kind of the embodiment of what I would have thought was amazingly awesome, incredible when I was 13, 14 years old. He's a sarcastic, buff, muscled dude with this awesome voice that does all kinds of off-the-wall, insane, completely physically impossible tricks, and on top of that gets the girls. And that was a big thing. There's a part in the movie where he's trying to get this female hacker to hack something for him. And while she's doing that, he has time to kill. So like 10 women come in and he has sex with 10 women all at once. They show the next morning he's putting his pants back on, and there's just this cavalcade of women that have just been fucked so hard by XXX that apparently their panties flew back on, because it is a PG-13 movie after all. The other thing that I liked was that the supporting cast was great. You had Tony Jaa, Michael Bisping from the UFC, who I think this might have been the first time he ever acted, Donnie Yen, Nina Dobrev, Toni Collette, Ruby Rose, Samuel L. Jackson, of course. And there was a surprise character that showed up. Unfortunately, they spoiled him in one of the later trailers, but if you haven't seen one of the more recent trailers, you might be surprised that he's there. I did think that it was cool, and I actually kind of liked him in this. What I didn't like about the movie was that you had these amazing action stars. You had Tony Jaa, Donnie Yen, and even Vin Diesel. You could tell that they had these great fights choreographed. For once, they didn't go all over the place with shaky cam, but they went way overboard with the editing. So it was quick edits out the wazoo. A punch gets thrown, edit, shows the other angle, edit, this, edit, 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 edit. It got really irritating because I wanted to see what the hell was going on, and they were editing so much that it never gave the fights a proper flow. The fights towards the end, they did let them go on a little bit longer because there was more gunfighting, and they had some slow motion shots, and they did kind of go with that. So it did get a little bit better towards the end, but a lot of the fight sequences just were edited to hell, and it did get frustrating, and it made it less enjoyable than it would have been. A lot of the action sequences, the aforementioned skiing down the mountain and all that, did seem to have longer edits, so those weren't quite as annoying. It's just whenever there was a fight scene, they, for whatever reason, the editor got way too overzealous and stitched it together to the degree of it being annoying. The other thing was, and I don't mean to insult teenagers, but I remember what I was like when I was 13, and I used to write back then, and I've gone back and reread some of my stories, and it reminded me very much of this. It was all these things that I just thought was concentrated awesome. It was, oh, he's an astronaut who's also a werewolf, and he's gonna fight crime on Mars, and it's just all these ideas just compressed together that didn't make any sense. And my dialogue was terrible. And so that's the thing with this. The dialogue was awful. They did the thing where Vin Diesel raises his hand and he shows his 3 fingers and he tells one of his associates to read between the lines. And it was like, oh my God. I used that when I was in 8th grade. There were other hack the planet kind of moments in the film and just completely cheesy, really bad dialogue choices. XXX3, The Return of Xander Cage, I don't know what to say about this. It's completely ludicrous. It ignores anything that has to do with physics. It's got some of the worst dialogue and one-liners I've ever heard. And yet, the whole movie, I was laughing hysterically. It was so absurd that I enjoyed it. It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's charming in its absurdity. After this was over, the first thing that popped into my mind was people that were complaining about Suicide Squad being ridiculous and having cringeworthy dialogue. And I thought to myself, oh God, these people would shit themselves if they saw XXX3. If they thought that was bad, this is 10 times worse. It is a superhero movie with people acting like superheroes that aren't superheroes. They're just extreme sports junkies that somehow can survive doing things that normal humans cannot even comprehend being able to do. It's not physically possible for the people in the movie to do the things that they were doing. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for a lot of action movies, but they just went so completely off the rails that it's inhuman what they were able to do. If you have a bunch of friends, you want to get together and watch something really stupid and laugh and enjoy how it's just reveling in its absurdity, then you might like this. Is this a movie that I'm going to watch over and over? No. But for the hour and a half that I was in the theater, I was laughing my ass off. I enjoyed it for being complete nonsense.